All right, I got this package in the mail from you. Wasn't expecting it, but awesome surprise today getting this in the mail. And it's their new Madness All In pre-workout.
All right, for Digital Muscle, I'm Sean Ray on behalf of the Mutant Nation. I'm joined by the great one, 8-time Mr. Olympia, Totally Lee Haney. Awesome. 1982 NPC overall national champion, actually a teenage national champion as well.
1979.
So that's where it started. You were 19 years old.
That's right.
And that contest was held where?
Michigan, Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan, but you're a native of Spartanburg, South Carolina?
Right, Spartanburg, South
Why
Carolina.
do I know all this stuff? Spartanburg, North Carolina. So if you won the teen nationals at 19, when was it that you actually were bodybuilding? How old were you?
Well, I started probably at the age of really about 12 years old. I got a set of weights for Christmas as a kid. Mm-hmm. And man, I would read everything I could get my hands on, nutrition, reading the magazines, studying Robbie Robinson's physique.
Well, why were you doing that at 12 years old? I was like playing in the sandbox.
Man, I wanted to be Hercules and Superman at that age. So,
Okay.
you know, hey.
How do you get exposed to Superman and Hercules? Like, did you open a magazine or something?
Well, you know, you watch it on TV, you know, Steve Reed playing Hercules and, you know, and then of course the stories of Samson, the old biblical character. That's sort of how it got started for me.
So it was like fantasy land for you.
Yeah, fantasy land.
But somewhere along the way, you caught speed because you suddenly started to learn what it was, the purpose of what you were doing, and the food that would fuel the muscles that would in turn build the size. What was, I'm clearly it had to happen before you were 19. So when was it? Was it like 15, 16, 17? What time did you go, okay, I'm going for this?
Well, it was roughly around 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
You know, when I entered my first bodybuilding competition in Mississippi, South Carolina, you know, very few knew what bodybuilding was around there.
Was there a teenage division or?
No, man. I was thrown right in with the wolves. You know, I trained at one of the local YMCAs, and that YMCA, you know, we met some of the older guys there, and they were into the weight training, the bodybuilding. And we had the gyms and so forth, the iron to sort of point us in the right direction.
What was the name of the gym you were at?
Well, one was called Regency Health Spa. That was one of them.
Yeah, because I was saying a lot of health spas back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. And then there was a local YMCA. Then one of the places that I really got a great start was called Nautilus Fitness Center.
Nautilus.
That's out of Spartan. Everybody loved Nautilus, man. It was
Right.
just breaking in. Coming into its being, you know, and a dear friend of mine, John Langford, owned the first Nautilus Fitness Center there. And,
okay.
And I trained there, and of course, John gave me a complimentary workout.
Sounds like the story of Ronnie Coleman. He started bodybuilding because he got a free membership.
Exactly, you know, and John was into powerlifting.
Okay.
So a lot of the foundation that I have for bodybuilding began with, you know, being around John and some of the guys there at that gym.
So as you were coming up in the teenage ranks, I almost remember, I think Bill Phillips competed against you as a teenage national competitor. I'm certain he mentioned somewhere that you beat him in a teenage competition. You remember Bill Phillips, right?
Yeah, Bill Phillips.
The founder of EAS Nutrition. I think he had something to do with Metrex also back then. He was a very smart guy. He just overcame a big battle with COVID recently.
Yes,
but we're in 1979. When you won the teenage nationals, because I remember, and it's always going to come back to me. People go, "Oh, Sean, you always have to interject yourself in the story." My story is the story of everyone that came before me. So I remember you winning a teen nationals in 1979. Of course, I didn't see anything until I got older and read about it. But it was my turn in '85.
Right.
And I knew that was a huge step to getting to the next level. So what was on your mind after you won the teen national championships?
Well, I felt that after winning the teen nationals, you know, that's a competition that says, okay, you know, you got what it takes.
Yeah.
Because if you can win a national teenage event, then that's saying, well, the next level is what's waiting. You know, you had people like, as I understand, Chris Dickerson won the Teenage America.
Way back, yeah.
I think it was Frank Zane,
Okay.
too. A lot of the different legends did that.
Before your time.
Before my time.
Yeah.
And so it said to me that, hey, if they did it, and now our professionals, the best in the world, then maybe, kid, you got a chance at this.
The exact psychology I had, saying that winning the teen nationals was validation that maybe I could do what the guys before me had done.
Yes.
Did you know some of the guys that you beat in the teen nationals? Did anybody go anywhere?
A guy, there were several guys. One guy named was Eddie Brown.
Okay.
Eddie looked great. He won the short class. Beautiful physique. You had Tony Patania. He was in that particular show too. Matter of fact, he had beat me a few months earlier in Georgia, in the Team Georgia USA. So it was several other guys. I can't recall them all, but it was a awesome show.
What's crazy about it is the timeline. 1979, Frank Zane won his last of 3 Mr. Olympias. And then a year later, Arnold Schwarzenegger competed in his final Mr. Olympia in 1980 in Australia. Were you paying attention to those two guys?
I sure was, Everybody was. The only thing we had during that time was a magazine.
Right.
Man, I couldn't wait to rush to the newsstand to find out what was going in the world of bodybuilding, which was so exciting, particularly for a young, want to be bodybuilder like myself during that time. The pull-out routines, eating plans that's been created by the best in the world was just awesome, man. So I followed it to a T.
Who was the first big-time bodybuilder you met?
Me and my wife, Shirley, was talking about that on the way down. The first one I met was, let me see. No, the first one was Casey Viecha.
Casey Viecha, a former teen national Mr.
That's
America.
right.
I think he actually was the
Casey
youngest
won
Mr.
everything.
National. He was the youngest Mr. America, I believe, too.
And the youngest, I think, Mr. Universe.
Yeah.
He did it all in the same time.
Yeah, he did. Right, 19 years old.
Casey was a beast, and I never will forget. I was there at the Redmond Theater in Detroit.
Which is where I competed in my first TV.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
Redford Theater in Detroit. My first teen
Detroit.
national championships in '84.
Yeah, there you
The
go,
year you
man.
won your first Olympia.
That's right.
We're connected.
They're connected, man.
There's always a 6th degree of separation to the
that's
great
right.
one.
That's it, man.
So what happened at that theater? That's when
Well,
you met him?
anyway, I'm sitting there, and Casey walks over, and it's early in the morning, before the show actually began, the prejudge began, and so I'm sitting there, and he said, "Excuse me, is anyone sitting there?" I said, "No, sir, no one's sitting there." He said, "Can I have it?" I said, "Sure, you can." And then they looked at me and said, "You in this show?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am. I'm in the teenage division." He said, "No, you can't be in the teenage division." I said, "Well, I really am,
Yeah.
I guess Casey was shocked at the fact that, I weighed roughly around 214 pounds.
Wow, okay.
You
You're
know,
5'11"?
5'11", so I had height and all of that going for me. And he was totally blown away by that. And I was really amazed at how kind he was, and taking the time to talk. And, then I had a chance to meet Mike Katz there,
Big
to
Mike
see
Katz with the Crusher.
Man,
pumping
I
iron.
love Mike, just a beautiful person. So that even got me even more excited.
Fired up.
And the first one that I actually saw that really just blew me away was Pete Gronkowski.
Gronkowski, Gold's Gym.
He was something, man. I saw Pete.
Did he have the mustache back then?
Oh yeah, he had the Greenville. He was there at the Greenville Health Club. He had those nice yellow. I can still remember yellow warm-up suit on. His tan was bronze.
Was he posing there? Or
Oh,
was he
Pete posed to "Sexy Thing" by
Sexy
Hot
Thing.
Chocolate.
Oh, wow.
He brought the house down, man.
Yeah.
He brought the house down. I never forgot that.
But he was a big guy because he was a 6-footer.
He was
I think,
a
right?
monster, man. He was a monster, over 240 something pounds.
Didn't have the
when I
best
saw him.
shape. He didn't have the best genetics, but he was a beast, right?
He was a beast.
So you're inspired, and we're way back in the 70s. So let's fast track it because obviously Arnold's on top of his game, but it was 3 short years. 1982, you were the very first ever NPC national overall champion.
Yes.
Do you remember the class of 82? Take us back down memory lane. Who was there?
Well, I think Matt Mendenhall was there.
I remember the late Matt Mendenhall this year.
Matt
Rest in
Mendenhall, and that time it was Tony Atlas.
peace. Tony Atlas, wow.
Yeah, Tony was there at that particular show. I can't recall all of the guys. I don't know if Mike Christian was there.
That was 83, I think.
It was 83?
Mike might have been there in 82. I don't know. I know Mike was there, I think, 83, 84.
Maybe, but I wasn't familiar
With the guys.
with the guys during that time because, and again, I'm from Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Nothing there related to
You were the
bodybuilding.
only thing
I was the
coming
only
out.
thing there,
Yeah.
So I was sort of a surprise to all of the guys. You know, they hadn't seen me, and I hadn't seen none of them.
What did you think about Matt? Because Matt was the real deal. He was there.
Matt was a genetic marvel. You know, particularly as I turned pro, with better eyes and better understanding of just the power of a great genetic blueprint.
Yeah.
I was totally blown away by Matt. Matt was a real live He-Man.
I think beating him had to solidify in your mind that you've arrived. Like, I'm legit. If I beat that guy, I'm legit.
Oh yeah, man. I took my best package, to the NPC Nationals after winning the Junior Nationals.
Yeah, that's right. The Juniors.
I was the first Junior National champion, I think, with the NPC.
That's
also,
right. Yeah.
In 1982. So. Man, I ran up on the right formula, and then I took that into the Nationals. Then, I think it was 2 weeks later, the IBB World Championship.
Which you ran the table there too.
I won that at 230 pounds.
Yeah. Now who'd you run into over there? Do you remember in the universe?
Rolf Mueller.
Rolf Mueller,
the giant of Germany,
the gladiator.
Wow.
In the movie Gladiator. He was the gladiator up against Russell Crowe.
Yes,
6'8".
Exactly.
And I remember I got my first crack at Rolf in 1988 in Los Angeles. He was the biggest guy on record as being in the Olympia at 6'8" and roughly 300 pounds. Unfortunately for him, he didn't have the genetics and placed last. But he went on to do the movie Gladiator later on. But you saw the height of him, but you could clearly see you had genetic structure.
Yes, and then another athlete that was incredible, Gunnar Roseball.
Yes, big arms.
Ooh, man.
Was he from
real
Norway?
Viking, yes.
Yeah, yes. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful physique. I think he had a partial injury at that time, which created a disproportion, in his physique.
Yeah.
His arm was 2 inches smaller, and so was his lats on one side of his body, so some type of injury, neck injury took place, I believe.
That was a good time. So we're in 1982. I think I'm like a sophomore going in high school. And it would be a year later that I started bodybuilding in 1983. And of course, you were competing in your first Mr. Olympia. But before that, did you do the Night of Champions?
That's right. I did the Night of Champions in 1982. Won that show.
83.
83. That's right.
Now we're pro. Did you win? You won?
Yes, I won. It was a week after me and my wife got married.
Okay.
Week after I got married, but then I also won the Caesar's Palace World
in Vegas.
Cup.
Yeah, which was a one-off. I think they only had it 1 year, didn't they?
Right, just 1 year. Ali Mahler was in that show.
Mahler, yeah.
Tony Pearson. Great show. So that was a real nice warm-up for me, going into pros.
And going into the Olympia, I might add, because in 1983, October, where was that held? Was that in Germany in Munich?
Albert Busak was the promoter of the show.
Samir Banu, the Lion of Lebanon, would go on to win that
show.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
5 foot nothing, 190 pounds maybe. And then you had the magical Egyptian, Mohammed Makaway, was second place, and you were third. As a rookie.
Third, yes.
And you were happy with third.
Oh, man. I mean, to be on the Olympia stage with legends such as that, and to place third in your first Olympia.
Because you beat some of your legends in that 83 Olympia, right?
Exactly, man. That was absolutely incredible. I mean, just the feeling of that alone. Not the fact that I placed higher than some of them, but just the fact that it was an honor just to be on the stage with people I grew up, watching in the magazines, reading about, and here I am, a part of that era, the tail end of it, but still, I was there.
I think a lot of people miss that when you're doing your very first Olympia, and maybe you don't do as well as you used to because you were on a winning streak, and then you get served up a little humble pie, but you're getting beat by guys that you were admiring, right? I mean, it's legitimate. You could accept it a little easier because they were seasoned, they're older, they've been there for a long time. But I imagine coming off that stage after hearing everything and looking at the pictures that the next time you're going to go back, you're not going to let that happen again. And you took it to another level. Because in 1984, you would go on to win the first of 8 consecutive Olympias. And where was that first one won? 1984, it was held where?
New York.
New York, okay.
Yeah, New York. It was a fantastic time. And, I mean, I love New York.
Yeah.
That's why I won the New York Night of Champions.
Yes.
I won the NPC Nationals there. And here I'm again to win my first Mr. Olympia.
Now, Samir fell off in '84,
Right.
and Muhammad Makaway remained in second place.
Yes.
Was that the year that Sergio Oliva came back?
That is a year that Sergio came back.
So you had to be a little excited about that. And
Oh,
Robbie
man.
Robinson was in the show too,
Yes,
I think?
Robbie was in the show. I believe Roy Callender was
Roy
there.
Callender.
Boyer Cole. Frank Zane.
You were catching the tail end of those
Oh,
great
man.
eras in the '70s, guys.
I experienced something that few bodybuilders, for myself going forward,
Yeah.
had a chance to do. To be on the stage with legends like
Yeah.
that, icons, and to say that you was actually there. You
Yeah.
not only watched them growing up, not only was they a part of your growth, but a part of your whole psyche.
Everything.
As a youngster growing up. So that was extremely important to me.
Yeah, because you read their articles in the magazines. You saw how they kind of came into this superstardom, but they hadn't reached the level of fame that you did. There was really not a lot of money coming out of the '70s, right? Going into the '80s. I think towards the end of the '80s, a little bit more functionality in terms of prize money and opportunity to monetize the sport in a more business sense in terms of maybe getting sponsored, global travel. I mean, 8x10s could rake in a lot of money to help you
Right.
finance your bodybuilding career. And the prize money started to inch up after '83. Do you remember what the prize money was in '84 when you first won?
I think it was around 50 to 55,000.
And prior to that, I believe Samir won $25,000 for first place in 1983. So it doubled by the time you arrived. And of course, now it's on a whole nother level. But you ran off 8 consecutive wins. We threw everything at you. We threw Gaspar, Labrada, myself, Mike Christian even wanted a piece of you. And you just were boom, boom, boom. And it really did change the game because people don't consider 5'11" tall. Right, but in bodybuilding, you had Tom Platz at 5'6", Samir Banu 5'6", Chris Dickerson was maybe 5'6". A lot of the small guys, you came to change the game much like Arnold did, and it didn't matter when they put a guy that was your height in the big white hope, which was Gary Stridham. Gary Stridham in 1988 was supposed to be the real deal. He had arrived. There was a photograph of you guys taken in Gold's Gym, shoulder to shoulder, eyeball to eyeball. But when you turned around at the back, Gary was back in the amateurs and you were on a whole nother stratosphere. So Gary was not the guy. But I say this all the time because it just resonates. 1991, we were here where the Olympia is taking place tomorrow. In Orlando, you said on the run-up that it would take a Titan to beat a Titan. And no one had seen anyone stand shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow, besides Gary Stridham in 1988, who won at 5th place.
Right.
And then by 91, here comes Dorian Yates in 1991. You had 8 Sandows, you were done, you were on the way out. Do you wish you had to come back in 1992 for one more, or were you just totally done?
I was totally done.
Because you were mentally, you were almost done the year before, you said.
Yes, I mean physically,
Yeah.
not so much mentally, physically. After that 7th Olympia, I mean, I woke up to, a few days after the show, man, my back hurt, my knees hurt, everything hurt. And I'm like, what in the world is happening to my body? And at that point, I didn't know, man, can I do this again? But after a couple of weeks, I detoxed my body, gave it some rest, gave it some good food, changed up on my training system. And probably within 3 to 4 weeks, man, I was ready to go again. I felt good. I had recovered. And
you tied Arnold Schwarzenegger's record for 7 Mr. Olympia wins. Did you believe Lee Labrada when he said in '89 he should have beat you in Rimini, Italy? He got 2nd place.
No.
There it is, Lee. I asked the question.
No. I was so far ahead of Lee.
Uh-huh.
I had I've always sort of pictured in developing a physique. I said, listen, if I can look like Robbie, Arnold, and present as good as Frank Zane, who could stop that? Because that's what bodybuilding wanted to look like. That's what it was demanding at that particular era.
Right.
So in creating my physique, I trained in such a way, and it was almost like mentally and physically willing your body to take on those characteristics of all of those great Olympians in one package.
Right.
And I felt if I could do that, I would be unstoppable.
That talks to the power of visualization, which a lot of bodybuilders don't do anymore because they turn it over to their coaches. And their coaches have a visual of what they should look like. How do you feel about that?
I think listen, we came along in an era where we had training partners. When you had a training partner, a true training partner, they're going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And hey, man, you look flat. Listen, we got to get these lats up a little bit. We got to do these things, and they're part of your blood.
Yeah, because they got to do it too.
Yeah, your heart beat together. So you believe in them, they believe in you, and they've been there, done that. They didn't just read about how nutrition works in the body or find some goofy formulation that they found on who knows where.
Yeah, they read
and
a
tried
book.
to experiment on you. So I'm not into coaches these days.
Yeah.
Only if that coach is a Sean Ray.
Right.
Or
someone
a
that's been
Charles
there.
Glass or Mike Christian that's been there, done that. Too many of these athletes hand their health and their body over to Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I'm with you 100%. I've been saying it for years. If you're my coach, number one, you can't be on the internet while I'm at a contest doing a FaceTime trying to assess what I need chemically or nutrition-wise. Like, you have to be present, right? Like, all the way from the beginning to the end. I remember watching you training with Superman and Rope Man and all these guys. I used to kind of be a little bit jealous because they were in your, they were driving you, right? And so I tried to find workout partners that wanted to fight with me, right? They had to be sparring partners. I didn't want someone I could beat up on. I wanted someone to push me back.
Yes.
And watching some of the guys that you were training with, they were invested. Dorian Yates had this guy Leroy. He's loud in the gym. He's screaming at Dorian to do the work. But you knew they were working in synchronicity. And having an off-campus coach, online coach, that's not present, that's never been where you're trying to go.
That's right.
It's hard to turn my work over to that person, right? So I couldn't do it. I'm with you on that.
And I think I don't think I knew it. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Someone haven't been there and haven't done that. I know what it feels like to carbohydrate deplete and reload. I know what I've experienced. Okay, how do I lower my water fluid intake in a nice, safe way? How do I do that and still be able to consume water, which allows my body to stay alive, allows my heart to continue beating?
Right.
How do I mix my minerals properly so that I don't, overdo it or put myself in harm?
Right.
You can only know that when you've experienced that.
Yeah, through trial and
not
error.
from some book.
Right.
So there lies the danger, and I really feel we've lost a lot of athletes to these so-called bootleg coaches.
Yeah, I think at some level, my personal opinion on how you put the genie back in the bottle. We had a tragedy here over the weekend with George Peterson passing away alone in his room a couple of days before his show. But you got to imagine, whatever the cause was, there's maybe more than one person working this, because I don't know that he was making independent decisions for the next step in his progress to the stage. So it's a collaborative effort. If it's me and I'm in the federation, I'm letting every coach out there know this is my solution. Something happens to one of our athletes where they wind up dead or in the hospital, we are coming for you. We want to see the digital footprint of what you're prescribing to your athletes, because none of these guys are doctors.
No accountability whatsoever.
And that's the part, is there's no accountability to the athletes dead and gone, and the coach is like, hey, you didn't listen to me. I wasn't there. I got no accountability.
You look, Sean, at the fact that, Albert Becker is 90. I learned how to harden up and prep for last minutes by watching Albert. I can't tell you how many meals I've sat down with Albert, and eating together.
Yeah.
And seeing him put on, okay, Albert, why do you have that garbage bag on, a week before the show? Oh, Lee, this is the way I drop fluid. I'm still drinking. I use tea, which is a natural diuretic, and B6, which is a natural diuretic. So I'm still drinking, and I'm still maintaining my fluid balance because I'm sweating the water off in a different way.
Right.
That's the way we did it.
Yeah, and these athletes today don't know.
They don't know nothing about it. If you read my book, Totally Awesome, I talk about that. Amateurs.
Which is what we need people like you for, is to continue paying it forward. I also know you have a training certification, which is very successful. You actually teach and speak on all things bodybuilding and fitness, educating people. And by doing that, what does it do for you?
Well, it makes me feel good, Sean. All that I've learned, I didn't make Lee Haney by himself. It took a lot of people to get me where I am today, a lot of knowledge that's been handed down. And I pulled this knowledge together to to win or to accomplish what I have in the world of bodybuilding. So I want to leave that for the younger athletes coming along.
Yeah.
You know, when I meet with some of the athletes at the booths from time to time, Mr. Olympia or the Arnold, they'll walk and say, man, I love your physique. I like that classic look. I want to be like that. And I want to be healthy too. I don't want to look like a mutant.
Right.
I said, well, listen, this is the way to do that. So that's the reason why I have this book re-edited for the third time, so that I can hand it off to this next generation, that they'll be able to train safely with good, solid knowledge and remain healthy at the same time.
And see, that's what we need. We need that. We need you as that source. Where can they get the book?
They can get it at leehaney.com. I'm proud of the fact that we're going to be at Olympia. I brought several boxes of them, and so we'll be autographing and signing them.
Yeah.
Getting them some knowledge.
Well, it's interesting as we evolve, and we do have a new generation of bodybuilders. I know you had your son Joshua how many years ago?
Oh, man.
How many years ago did you
Josh
have?
is now 34.
And he didn't express an interest to follow in the footsteps?
Well, Josh
Did he
was
try?
sort of like you. He was into football.
Okay. Yeah, I remember, yeah.
He played football,
But bodybuilding never was something he wanted to try.
No, he got into his weight training, but he was more into athletic type of deal, clean and snatches, that sort of deal. Played some pro ball in Italy.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it for Josh.
So now we watched Sergio Oliva Jr. come behind his father, and we watched Lee Labrada's son, who's going to be competing this weekend. And how crazy is it that we're going to be watching Labrada's son, who was conceived right here in Orlando in 1991, compete this weekend for I think this is his second Olympia. What do you think about that?
I'm very amazed at how complete this young man's physique is.
Yeah,
I love the way he looked. Of course, you got Lee, one of the best in the world, is teaching him and giving him the right guidance, and making sure that his training is proper, his nutrition is proper, he's practicing, safety as he prepares to that last week or so before a show. So all of that means a lot. So the combination of Lee and Robin's physiques together,
she brought the height.
They sure did. I mean, Hunter's a masterpiece. I love his package.
When we look at this weekend, Big Ramy, he's the 16th Mr. Olympia in the 56 years. Though obviously this will be the 57th weekend. But Big Ramy, unfortunately, under the umbrella of COVID, wins the title. Can't tour the world to educate and show the masses what it was that he earned. Maybe if he wins again, he'll be able to do that more reflective of an Olympia winner. But with him winning the contest, has anyone closed the gap on Big Ramy from a year ago? I think the newest person we're talking about right now is Nick Walker, who won the Arnold Classic. But is anyone going to get closer this year?
It's hard to say until they're on the stage,
Yeah.
Because Big Ramy brought a package last year that was incredible.
Right.
I mean, he peaked perfect.
I think most of us talked about, forget about the package, because we always thought it was there when we first saw him. It was that he dried up nicely and on time, got in and out of the poses first and last, and didn't look like he was lumbering through it, which meant he prepared properly.
Sure did. He looked great. As far as anybody, able to beat him, they really have to fight real hard to do that.
Yeah, they have to bring their A game.
They sure do, man. I mean, I'm looking forward to an incredible show. But, if you peak one time perfectly, that's great.
Right.
You win. But can you repeat?
That's the
peaking?
test.
That's always the test. Having that formula to peak and peak and peak again.
Samir Banu spent a lifetime trying to peak and peak
Trying to
and peak
repeat.
again. It never happened for him. Didn't happen for Chris Dickerson either. A lot of guys are one-off champions. Dexter, although he won the 2008 Mr. Olympia, he competed in another 12 and never was able to get it right on the day. So it's not an exact science unless, of course, you're Lee Haney. Or the other GOAT, Ronnie Coleman, who is also in the house. We've had a very good opportunity this weekend to gather the legends of old school bodybuilding in the form of Lee Haney leading the group at 61?
Yeah, 61.
61 years young, born in what year was that?
1959.
59. And joining Big Lee this weekend is going to be Rich the Itch Gaspari
The Itch.
and Lee the Flea Labrada. Fabulous Flex Wheeler.
I was mean one night.
I know, you were mean,
I
man.
Did that, man. I apologize.
I think Lee got the last laugh because he did wind up in the Hall of Fame.
He sure did.
We got the Fabulous Flex Wheeler, the Maryland Muscle Machine. Kevin Lavroni will be here. Chris Cormier, we just saw the real deal out in the lobby. They're all here. So if you have the opportunity to come down here, especially on Saturday, we will all be gathered at 12 noon at the Olympia Legends booth to take some group photos. And of course, we are selling things, books, pictures. Bring your magazines. We'll sign them. We'll take pictures with you guys. But we're also paying it forward. So if you want to reach out to Lee Haney, he's on Instagram at, is it Lee? How do you say it?
Lee Haney. Official Lee Haney.
Official Lee Haney, right. And then he's got the Lee Haney Games coming up November the 13th in Atlanta. Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah, man. We're excited about this year's event. We have close to 300 athletes. And first class, Bob Check is going to be our MC this
The
year.
voice of bodybuilding.
We got DJ Freddie coming in to do his thing, man. You know, he's off the chain.
Nice.
We're excited, man. High Tech Pharmaceutical has been with us for the last 6 years. I really appreciate Jerry Wheat and his entire team there, man. And we're going to have a great time.
Yeah, that's going to be...
all the tanning will be taken care of, you know.
Yeah, that's November the 13th in Atlanta, Georgia. You can find that on his Instagram.
And go to LeeHaneyGames.com for you athletes who want to be there and register.
So is there more than bodybuilding when you call it Lee Haney Games? Is there other activities?
Well, for now, it's only bodybuilding.
Okay, because of the COVID thing.
Yeah, once we get past this next year, we plan to
open back up again.
Open up again and add some additional things.
And I look forward to being there. Unfortunately, my show is 1 week after Lee's in
I
Hawaii.
know, that's why I can't get...
I'll be in Hawaii and he won't be in Hawaii, but it is what it is. We're doing the business of bodybuilding, creating opportunities for others. I wanted to ask you this question because a lot of people say, what happened to the quality of today's bodybuilder? They seem to think the quality was better in the past. I found the solution, and you touched on it earlier. The early start, the teenagers, the teenage development, getting involved in building that base so that by the time you are 21, 22, you've already got 5 or 6 years of development, that base. It's a different look because a lot of bodybuilders now are starting out in their 20s and are winding up pros in their 30s and going on into their 40s competing. So the teenage division is what's really missing from the landscape of our sport.
Exactly. You know, I have a teenage division in the Lee Haney Games.
And so do I.
We really pride ourselves in making sure we bring the kids, the young athletes along, because that's how I got my start.
Yeah.
You know, I was my parents got me a set of weights when I was 10, 11 years old. And then I had some great knowledge. I had my Charles Atlas book, but then I read the magazines and it helped me. And so, you know, getting them up and going in the right direction is very important. One other thing I want to touch on too, Sean, while we're here. I really feel, and I love the fact that what we have in our sport now is there's something for everybody.
Right.
I love the
8
fact
different
that
divisions.
you have your bodybuilding division, you have your classic physique division, which is classic bodybuilding.
Right, that's classic
Just
bodybuilding.
gave it a new name to sort of keep the boundaries of, you know, of it properly. Then you have your physique, and you know, and there we go. And so, which is good. But what I would like to see is more prize money being given to the classic physique. You know,
which while you say that, I'll cut you off. It's going from $30,000 a year ago for first to $50,000 this year.
Still peanuts.
It's peanuts, but it's still progress.
Yeah, it's still progress. But listen, I don't. You know, I feel this way. I don't want to see the guys in that classic bodybuilding division not reap the benefits of their hard work and their sacrifice.
I'm with you.
You know, and just award the guys who's the biggest, because that sends sort of a mixed signal.
Yeah, it takes away.
So the younger guys will say, "Listen, if I can get that big, then I can win $400,000 or $500,000.
It'll change the class."
Well, exactly. So why not say, you know, I've worked hard. I got a beautiful physique, beautiful lines. I'm more. I have a greater public appeal, because that is a fact.
Yeah, more
you know, that is a fact. More people are appealed to it. You got doctors, lawyers, general population.
So we have to reward that division.
Classic physique.
Yes.
So you need to reward the guys who push towards that particular mode.
Absolutely.
You know, not to take anything away from the bodybuilding division, but I think the prize money need to communicate, hey, this is for everybody, and no matter what category you exist in, you're rewarded for your hard work.
Which is why I added Classic Pro Physique to my show in Hawaii for the first time, and hopefully looking forward to double it and double it and double it. As we grow, they grow. So it's a start, and that's a good observation, because the Classic Physique to me is something that we don't want to lose. We can't get too far away from it. But right now, as the sun sets on us here in Orlando, Florida. It will rise tomorrow, and we'll wake up to the first day of the prejudging and the finals for some divisions of the 57th anniversary of the Mr. Olympia weekend, where Lee Haney is going to be recognized for his contributions, which have been vast and enormous. A former representative on the President's Physical Fitness Council, was that?
Yes.
Was that 1991? That was 92? Or was that Bush?
I think it was right after Flo Joe. I was under President Bill Clinton.
Yeah, Bill. This guy's done it all, and he retired at 31 years old from bodybuilding, and he's still married to his childhood sweetheart, and now he's a grandfather. You want to know anything else about Lee Haney? Follow me on Instagram. But right now, we got to wrap it up and get over here to meet the Olympians from Orlando, Florida. The great Lee Haney. We recognize and honor you, and thank you for all your contributions.
Thanks, Sean.